Hi all, it's Kurt here, financially independent real estate investor. I don't just play one on the internet. This is my 7-figure portfolio. I quit my engineering job over a year ago and now make more money than ever, largely thanks to the concepts that I'll share with you in this video. You need to understand the ways that real estate makes you money before you start looking for deals. Relying on dumb luck alone for that is inadvisable at best. Real estate can make you money in 5 different ways, and I'll throw in a bonus one at the end, an offshoot of one of the primary 5. This bonus wealth creation mechanism could make you a fortune, so be sure to stick around until the end, and please hit that like button for the algorithm if you're excited to see that. Cutting to the chase, they are cash flow, appreciation, forced equity, principal paydown, and tax advantages. Memorize these, understand these, internalize the ever-living out of these concepts. They represent the lens through which you should be analyzing any deal that crosses your path. Different angles to look at the potential deal to see how said deal may be worth pursuing. Each trade has tools that practitioners use to get the job done. These are your tools to make money with real estate. Not every deal checks all of the boxes, and that's okay. There are usually trade-offs. A deal that shines in one area may be soft in others, but in general, you should be looking for ways to stack as many of these as possible when a deal crosses your path. Let me give you some examples of different types of investment strategies and how each prioritizes different tools to make money. I'll start by picking on flippers. You know, somebody who buys a dump, fixes it up, and sells it for more than they have into it. While a successful flip can net an investor a nice chunk of change, flipping only takes advantage of one of the mechanisms, and that's forced equity. They might get some appreciation during their hold period in a hot market, kind of acting as a tailwind for their deal, but best not to count on that. Real gains from appreciation tend to come from long hold periods, like years or decades. On average, your property won't appreciate much through the duration of a flip, unless you're tragically slow at rehabbing properties. Now, let's look at what flippers are leaving on the table. For one, cash flow. Cash flow is what's left over from the rent that your tenant pays you after all expenses. Houses undergoing flips tend to not be rented out. Next, we have principal paydown. Principal paydown comes from paying down the balance of your loan, ideally with money that you receive in rent, thereby building equity. Flippers don't have tenants paying them rent, and typically they'll fund their flips with short-term interest-only loans, so no principal paydown for them. Tax advantages are the last thing. Real estate can offer some great tax advantages, like depreciation and the 1031 exchange. Per the IRS code, you can write off depreciation of your properties against your rental income, decreasing your tax burden. This is true even if the value of your property is on the rise. A 1031 exchange allows for you to sell one property and buy another, deferring payment of the taxes on your proceeds from the sale, provided that certain criteria are met. There's also opportunity zones, low-income housing tax credits, and so on. This video won't go into depth on tax strategy, but know that those things exist and that they're not for flippers. Flip profits are treated like short-term capital gains, not particularly advantaged. Flipping more closely resembles a job or active income than it does investing. As you can see, flipping doesn't take advantage of a lot of the tools that are available to real estate investors to build wealth. Let me know in the comments if this makes you see flipping in a new light. Next, we'll focus on traditional buy and hold investors. We're referring to people who buy a property that's basically in turnkey condition and rent it out for the sake of this example. The buy and hold investor is kind of the opposite of a flipper. They miss out on forced equity, but instead enjoy cash flow, principal paydown, appreciation, and tax advantages. Cash flow because they did sufficient pre-purchase underwriting to know that the property will rent for more than the expenses. Principal paydown because they likely saved up for a down payment and bought the property with a traditional amortizing 30-year fixed-rate loan, which the tenant will be paying down with their rent payments. Appreciation because real estate tends to go up in value over a long enough time horizon, and our hypothetical buy and hold investor intends to hold for years, if not decades. Our subject buy and hold investor also enjoys the benefits of offsetting their cash flow with depreciation, greatly reducing their tax burden, and could also 1031 exchange into a different property without paying any capital gains taxes, provided that they follow the rules for a 1031 exchange. This investor chose a deal that forgoes fast cash that a flip can provide in favor of something that'll produce sustained income and generate wealth over a long period of time. That's pretty dope. Now, drum roll, we have the value-add investor. This glutton for ROI is a special creature and wants to leave nothing on the table. They learn the different mechanisms of wealth creation in real estate and recognize that the more effectively they can stack them, the faster they can grow. Their deals may be a little more complex, but whatever, growth. Basically, the value-add investor hunts for deals that would be attractive to flippers upon purchase, since there's opportunity to force equity, and attractive to buy and hold investors upon completion of improvements, since there's opportunity for cash flow. By bagging deals like this, the value-add investor can stack every mechanism of wealth creation that real estate has to offer. They're forcing lots of equity by buying a turd and performing a cost-effective rehab. They enjoy cash flow because their underwriting revealed that the place would rent for top dollar and run a nice fat surplus once fixed up nicely. And it is. They enjoy principal paydown because they did a cash-out refinance after performing their rehab, so there's a loan on the property that the tenant is paying down. They enjoy appreciation because they bought it in a solid location and are holding the property long term. They also enjoy the benefits of depreciation and could 1031 exchange if they desire, thereby reducing what they owe to greedy Uncle Sam. All of that together results in absolutely insane ROI because thanks to the forced equity and cash out refi, they don't have any money left in the deal that's still cash flowing. They can use all the money to take down the next deal, rinse and repeat. This is commonly referred to as the BRRRR strategy, standing for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. This is my main play, and it got me to 27 units in 3 years. You could argue that my examples are somewhat hyperbolized, and be right to some extent. There's not always a clear delineation between the different strategies. In practice, you'll see more of a blending. Here's an example from my personal experience. Perfect BRRRR deals are possible. I've done multiple. I've even done some where I've gotten more out of the property through the cash out refinance than I had in it to begin with. But if you only take on deals that pencil out to be perfect BRRRRs, you're going to be leaving a lot of good stuff on the table. By all means, if you can find enough volume of BRRRRs to keep you busy, keep doing them. But for most, myself included, there's a good chance that you'll be leaving some money in your deals, and that's okay. I have a few properties that didn't pencil out to perfect BRRRRs. I took them on because I like the neighborhood. They cash flow insanely well, and I believe that they're going to appreciate a bunch in the next several years. So I bought them, performed huge to the studs rehabs, and rented them out. I left some money in them, but thanks to the insane cash flow that I mentioned, I'll get all that money back within 1 to 2 years. I'm cool with that. I even have a property that I bought solely for cash flow, at least in the short term. Longer term, I could update the units as I have turnover, force equity, and get all my money out back from the cash out refi. But for now, I have good paying tenants, and that thing produces such strong ROI from the cash flow alone that I'd have been silly to not buy it. You can now start to look at deals in a more holistic way. A deal might be a little light in one of those mechanisms, but could more than make up for that in others. Or maybe you come across a deal that doesn't shine in any one of these, but instead is just pretty alright in all of them. That might be a deal worth pursuing as well. If we liken a deal to a poker hand, your job is to identify the best way to play the hand that you have. It could just be a garbage hand, in which case you don't go all in. But don't be the person who plays as if you have a high card when you're sitting on a royal flush because you didn't know any better. Likewise, you don't want to be the person who fixes up a house only to sell it when that thing would have printed money if you had kept it. Or the person who settles on a little bit of cash flow when they could instead force a ton of equity with a thoughtful rehab and get all their money out through a refi and still have respectable cash flow. If you remember nothing else from this video, just know that there are different ways to make money with a deal, and your job as a prudent investor is to identify and maximize as many as you can. When comparing deals, picture a radar plot with each of these mechanisms as a radial. Generally speaking, You want to deal with the most area inside of the plot. I should also mention that your priorities may vary depending on what you want to accomplish as an investor. Personally, I wanted to quit my job as quickly as possible. As such, I needed deals that would produce cash flow in order to replace my active income. I also needed deals that had a lot of opportunity for forced equity because that's kind of necessary for scaling a real estate portfolio if you're working with limited supply of money, which most of us are. That forced equity, paired with cash at refis, allowed me to keep cycling the same money through multiple deals, gaining more and more cash flow with each one, and also net worth from forced equity, principal paydown, appreciation, and tax advantages. I quit my job after 2 years of that. If you have a solid source of income and you just want to buy real estate on the side, maybe you pursue turnkey buy and hold deals instead. They're a lot easier to execute, more abundant, and you're still getting better returns than you likely will from stocks or whatever. Before I close, I promised you a bonus mechanism in the beginning of the video. Much like forced equity, it's a way to gain equity in the deal, excess of what you paid for. Ready? You buy real estate for less than it's worth. This just comes down to finding good deals and negotiating effectively so that you can buy stuff for under market value. Real estate is an asset where you can buy $100 for $80 because not everybody is good at valuing properties, or maybe it's a highly motivated seller prioritizing a quick sale over getting the most money. When you get a deal under contract for under market value, you can literally add many thousands of dollars to your net worth just by bringing that deal to closing. I've done this a bunch too. I won't go into the weeds on tactics in this video, but will in future videos, so subscribe and turn on notifications if you'd like to be privy to that content when it comes out. Oh, and there's also leverage. This is huge. You can borrow money to buy real estate, which means that all the benefits that I described can be achieved with little to no money of your own. Be careful, however. Leverage doesn't just amplify your wins, it also amplifies your losses. Leverage isn't a way to make money on its own, but if you understand the real mechanisms for building wealth, it can be a way to invest in bigger, more lucrative deals with less out of pocket. If you get value from this video, go and check out some of my other content. Or better yet, put what you learned here to practice by examining some deals in your market, thinking about how you'd attack them for the greatest return. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.